Okay, I need you to picture something for me, and you have to really visualize it because it sounds like a complete fever dream.
I am ready. Lay it on me.
You are at a Pearson VUE testing center. You know the vibe. Sterile fluorescent lights, the air conditioning is cranked up way too high.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone else in the waiting room is just, stressed out of their minds. They're clutching two forms of ID, reciting port numbers under their breath, sweating through their shirts.
It is the least rock and roll environment on earth.
Exactly. And then the door opens, and in walks Tom Petty. Sunglasses on, leather jacket, and he is carrying a vintage guitar case.
That is quite an image. And just to be clear right off the top, because we do value accuracy here, this is a fantasy scenario.
Right, right.
Tom Petty has sadly passed on. But the source material we are diving into today builds this incredible narrative. It's called, What If Tom Petty Took the SAA CO3 Exam?
That's the AWS Solutions Architect Associate exam. And usually when we get these creative scenarios, they're just fluff.
All right, they're fun, but not much else.
But what struck me about this one and why we are dedicating a deep dive to it is that it is actually a really rigorous breakdown of cloud philosophy.
It really is.
Yeah.
The premise is absurd, but the lessons are so solid. The source argues that a rock star's intuition for live performance, stage management, avoiding dead air, keeping the crowd happy, translates almost perfectly to passing this exam.
We have to touch on the backstory before we get into the architecture because it is just hilarious.
Oh, that's great.
Apparently, the source claims Tom bought everything on Amazon while on tour, so he figured, hey, with my royalty checks, maybe AWS is a good investment.
Logical. But he wanted to know what he was buying. He didn't want to be a passive investor. The source details a celebrity certification arrangement, authorized personally by Jeff Bezos. And the deal was simple. Tom could take the exam with his guitar in the room, treating it like a gig. In exchange, if he passed, he had to autograph a Fender Stratocaster for Bezos.
Okay, we need to put a pin in that Stratocaster because there is a twist coming at the end regarding that guitar.
For sure.
But let's get to the exam itself. Most people walk into that room just hyperventilating. What is Tom doing?
He is early. He didn't cram. He didn't reread his notes in the parking lot or do flashcards in the lobby. He just sits down, opens the case, and treats it like a sound check.
A sound check. That is the core metaphor here, isn't it?
It is. I mean, think about what a sound check represents. It is not about playing fast. It is not about showing off. It is about checking the levels, ensuring the system works, and preparing for the unexpected.
Right.
He actually tells the test monitor to shove it when they look at the guitar. He is there to ensure the show goes on.
Okay, so let's see how that mindset handles the actual SAA-03 content. The source breaks this down question by question. First up, the classic high availability question.
Yeah, you see it on every practice test.
A company needs a highly available architecture for a mission-critical application.
Now, the average test taker reads, highly available, and immediately panic scans for the most complex diagram they can find.
They want to build a fortress. They want to show they know how to engineer some crazy solution.
Exactly. But Tom reads it, strums a chord, and thinks, they're scared of silence.
Scared of silence. Wow, that is a powerful reframing.
To a musician, highly available doesn't mean fancy technology. It simply means the song keeps playing. If a string snaps, you don't stop the concert to restring it.
No, you grab the backup guitar.
You grab the backup. You keep going. The audience shouldn't even know something broke.
So practically speaking, when he's looking at 4 multiple choice answers, how does he eliminate the wrong ones?
He immediately crosses out anything manual. If the answer says, an administrator receives an alert and switches traffic, that is just wrong.
Because by the time the human reads the alert, logs in, and clicks the button,
the song has stopped. The silence has already happened. Exactly. He also crosses out anything that looks impressive but fragile. He is looking for zero heroics. That is a key phrase in the source. He picks the answer that uses multi-AZ, multiple availability zones, where the redundancy is just managed by AWS. He wants the architecture that protects the performance, not the one that makes the architect look smart.
It's the difference between a guitar solo that goes off the rails and a solid rhythm section that never quits.
Ideally, you want the rhythm section. In the exam and in production, boring is better. You want the infrastructure to be boring so the application can be the star.
Okay, let's move to question 2. This one trips up a lot of developers, especially the ones who come from a pure coding background.
Yeah, this one's a good one.
The prompt starts with resources are already deployed and then describes a need to patch or update something.
This is where the sound check versus live show distinction is just vital. The source says Tom smiles at this one. So the doors are open. We are not rebuilding the stage.
Already deployed means the show has started. The crowd is in the room.
Precisely. You don't tear down the stage mid-show just to fix a loose cable. A lot of engineers, especially those who love infrastructure as code, might be tempted to select answers involving, like, cloud formation or deploying a new stack.
Because that is the clean way to do it in a dev environment, right? You update the template, you redeploy, it ensures consistency.
In a dev environment, sure, or during a planned maintenance window where downtime is allowed. But if the resources are already deployed and live, tearing them down causes disruption.
That is a huge problem.
So Tom eliminates cloud formation or golden AMIs, which are rebuilding activities. He chooses systems manager and automation.
This is what the source calls quiet maintenance. Can you break down why systems manager is the quiet choice here?
Sure. AWS Systems Manager, or SSM, it lets you run commands or patches on your servers without having to SSH into them or shut them down.
So it's an agent in the background.
It's an agent running in the background. It applies the patch while the server's running.
So it's like a roadie running on stage to tape down a cable while the band is still playing.
That is the perfect analogy. The source calls it the kind of fix nobody claps for and nobody complains about. It is invisible.
And this is where the source material gets really creative. It says Tom starts composing a song in his head during the exam to process the logic, a song called Free Scaling.
It is brilliant. He is using lyrics to memorize the behavior of the services. For this section, the lyrics go, she's got alarms and CloudWatch metrics looking tight. Traffic rolls in heavy Friday night spike.
Friday night spike. That is the unpredictable load.
Right. And the chorus is, she don't panic. She don't stare at the screen. Capacity comes online like it's always been.
That's catchy, but is it technically accurate?
It is spot on. She don't panic refers to the automated nature of auto-scaling groups. She don't stare at the screen means no human intervention.
Right.
And capacity comes online like it's always been describes the elasticity instances just spinning up to meet demand before the system crashes.
Which leads us perfectly into question 3. The prompt is minimize operational overhead.
Now, a business person reads minimize overhead and thinks make it cheap.
But that is not what it means in AWS land, is it?
No, not really. Tom translates minimize operational overhead to how do I stop thinking about this after today? Like forever.
I love that. It is not about cost. It is about mental load.
It is about not having to babysit the server. So he throws out custom scripts. He throws out installing a database on an EC2 instance. Why?
Because then you have to patch it.
You have to patch it. You have to back it up. You have to manage the replication, all that stuff.
I feel like custom scripts are the bane of every architect's existence eventually. They work great until the person who wrote them quits, and then nobody knows how the backup works.
They are technical debt just waiting to happen. So Tom chooses the boring managed service. If the choice is between run a script on EC2 or use AWS Lambda, he takes Lambda.
Right.
If it's manage your own MySQL versus Amazon RDS, he takes RDS. His philosophy is boring is freedom.
And the song continues, Harry.
It does.
Yeah.
The second verse. The load keeps rising. Requests pour in. No one's guessing. No add 2 more instances sin.
Add 2 more instances sin. Explain that one.
That refers to manual scaling. Just guessing capacity based on a hunch. Oh, the site feels slow. Add 2 more servers. That is amateur hour. It's reactive, not proactive. He goes on. The policy triggers the fleet grows wide across 3 AZs. No single point to die.
No single point to die. That is actually a great mnemonic for multi-AZ architecture. But let's clarify AZs for anyone new to the cloud.
An availability zone, or AZ, is essentially a physical data center. When you use multi-AZ, you are putting your servers in physically different buildings, often miles apart, with different power, different cooling.
So if a bulldozer cuts the power line to one building,
the others keep running. No single point to die. If you're playing a stadium, you have backup amps. You have backup power. You don't have a single point of failure that can kill the whole show.
Let's talk about question 4. Automatically respond to events. This often involves things like SQS, that's Simple Queue Service, or SNS, Simple Notification Service.
Tom's take here is, who is watching the room?
What does he mean by that?
In a concert venue, you have security watching the crowd. If a fight breaks out, that is an event. Security handles it. The band doesn't stop playing to break up the fight.
Okay, I see where this is going. This is about decoupling.
Exactly. An event means something changed. Maybe a user uploaded a photo. Maybe an order was placed. Action needs to happen, but it needs to happen without a meeting and without stopping the main flow.
Right.
So he looks for event routing and asynchronous work.
Can you define asynchronous in this context?
Sure. Synchronous means I asked for something and I wait right here until you give it to me. Asynchronous means I drop a request in the box and I go back to work. You handle the request whenever you can.
And Tom prefers the second one.
Always. The source puts it beautifully. Playback comes first. Analytics can wait. If you have a process that analyzes user data or resizes that uploaded photo, you don't let that slow down the website loading for the customer. You decouple it. Send it to an SQS queue. Let a worker process it 500 milliseconds later.
Playback comes first. That is actually a really good rule for user interface design, too. Don't make the user wait for your back-end math.
And the lyrics for this part might be my favorite. Some folks sighs for the worst day, pay for ghosts in the room, always on servers, humming out of tune.
Ghosts in the room. That is such a haunting way to describe over-provisioning.
It really is. Paying for servers that are just sitting there, idling, waiting for traffic that isn't there, that is humming out of tune. It is just wasteful.
Totally.
The correct architectural approach, and the next line of the song is, but she scales with demand and scales back down. Pays for what she uses when the crowd leaves town.
When the crowd leaves town, that is the essence of elasticity.
It is. When the concert is over, you pack up the gear. You don't leave the lights on and the amps running all night for empty arena. You scale back in.
This transitions us into question 5, which is all about money. Design for cost optimization.
And Tom knows this is a trap.
Why is cost optimization a trap? I mean, doesn't everyone want to save money?
Because people think cost optimization means what is the cheapest option right now. But Tom knows that hauling stadium gear to a bar gig is not frugal. It's dumb. And conversely, trying to run a stadium show with bar gear is a disaster.
So it's about right sizing, not just cheapness.
Exactly. Cost optimization isn't about being cheap. It is about what doesn't waste money quietly. He avoids always on everything. He looks for lifecycle policies moving data to colder storage when it is not needed. He looks for spot instances for stateless workloads.
He avoids anything Ticketmaster, which, fair point.
A little industry jab there. But specifically, he avoids paying for empty seats. If you reserve capacity you don't use, you are failing the exam.
The lyrics regarding peace of mind are really telling here. It seems like for Tom, cost and anxiety are linked.
No 3 a.m. fear. No spreadsheet prophecy of traffic next year. He is talking about moving away from trying to predict the future with spreadsheets, which is the old way of doing capacity planning.
Spreadsheet prophecy. I think we have all been in that meeting where someone tries to predict server load for next November based on what happened 2 years ago.
And they are always wrong. Tom prefers just thresholds, cooldowns, simple rules that hold. Let the system react to reality rather than trying to predict the future.
Okay, moving on to question 6. Secure and compliant. I feel like these two get lumped together a lot in job descriptions. Security and compliance officer.
They do, but Tom separates them distinctly. To him, security is who can touch the gear. Compliance is, can we prove they didn't?
That is a very clean distinction.
He says locks and logs are different jobs, like beer and whiskey. Different.
And I'm guessing he doesn't mix them.
No, he rejects answers that try to do both with a single service. For security, he pairs IAM, that is Identity and Access Management, and KMS Key Management Service, that is the lock. That controls who gets in and who can read the data.
And for compliance,
He looks for AWS config and CloudTrail. That is the log, that is the audit trail. You need both, but you have to recognize they are different tools.
so if the question asks for an audit trail,
And you select a security group, you're wrong. A security group stalks them. It doesn't necessarily log the history of the attempt in a way an auditor wants.
now we get to the moment of truth. Question 7, the tiebreaker.
This is the moment where most test takers just panic. You have narrowed it down to 2 answers. They both look technically correct. They both could work. You are just sweating.
So how does Tom Petty decide?
He asks one question. Which one lets me leave town without worrying?
I love that criteria. It is so pragmatic.
It is the ultimate filter. He looks for the answer with fewer moving parts, the answer with more AWS managed behavior, and crucially, the answer that requires less explanation and a postmortem.
Oh, that is good. If things go wrong, you don't want to be explaining some complex Rube Goldberg machine to your boss.
Exactly. Imagine the site goes down. Do you want to explain a custom-coded, multi-layered caching solution that you invented and nobody else understands?
No.
Or do you want to say Amazon S3 had a service outage?
You definitely want to say S3 had an outage. It shifts the liability.
Right. If you chose the standard, managed, simple path, nobody gets fired. If you chose the complex, custom, clever path and it breaks, you are in trouble. The simple answer wins always.
So the exam ends. How does he do?
He finishes early. It's not because he rushed, but because he didn't argue with the questions.
He didn't ask, could this work?
Right. A lot of engineers fail because they think, well, I could build this with EC2 and a custom script. Yes, you could. But he asked, is this what AWS wants me to choose? That is a massive distinction. AWS wants you to choose the managed service. They wrote the test.
Good. Now I don't have to think about this again. Ever.
And he scores 100%.
Naturally.
He picks up his guitar, takes a selfie with the monitor, and hands the guy his guitar pick.
Faced.
Based indeed. And the lyrics finish out. If traffic drops, let it go. Scale back down. That's the flow.
Now we have to address the tryst we promised at the start. The deal with Jeff Bezos.
Right, the celebrity certification. The condition was that Tom had to autograph a Fender Stratocaster for Bezos if he passed.
And in the end,
Tom never autographed the Stratocaster.
why? Did he just renege on the deal?
No, it is because Tom Petty hates Stratocasters.
He was a Rickenbacker and Telecaster guy, wasn't he?
He was, and staying true to his roots and his preferences was just as important as the certification. He didn't compromise the architecture, and he didn't compromise his guitar choice. He basically told Bezos to get him a Rickenbacker if he wanted his signature.
That is fantastic. You know, when you step back and look at this entire scenario, it is funny, but it is also a masterclass in architectural philosophy.
It really is. We get so caught up in the acronyms EC2, RDS, SQS, SNS, but we forget the goal. The goal is to keep the application running. The goal is to serve the customer.
The goal is the song keeps playing.
Exactly. And Tom's logic highlights that the best way to keep the song playing is to remove the friction. Use the tools that are designed to handle the load. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't try to be a hero.
It sounds counterintuitive for a rock star, but it makes total sense. Rock stars have roadies, they have systems, they have professionals handling the lights and the sound so they can just focus on the music.
And in the cloud, AWS is the roadie. AWS is the sound guy. Let him handle the patching and the scaling and the hardware failures. You just focus on your code. You focus on your business logic. That is the music.
I think my favorite takeaway is the idea of boring is freedom.
It is a mantra to live by in tech. If your infrastructure is boring, that means it is working. Excitement in infrastructure usually means an outage.
Or a 3 a.m. panic.
Exactly. We want boring. We want free scaling. We want to leave town without worrying.
So, to you, the listener, here's a thought to take with you. We all want to be the architect who builds the super complex, impressive system that everyone marvels at. But ask yourself, if a rock legend like Tom Petty treats cloud architecture like a sound check, prioritizing reliability, and the show must go on over technical showboating, are you overcomplicating your own systems just to feel like a hero?
Maybe the best architecture isn't the one that gets you a standing ovation from your peers. Maybe it is the one that lets you leave the building early.
Because nobody claps for quiet maintenance, but everybody enjoys the show.
Amen to that.
Thanks for diving in with us. We will catch you on the next one. Keep it boring out there.